Misfits. Welcome back to the Misfits and Mysteries podcast. As you guys know by now, this is your weekly podcast where we cover everything from psychology and history to aliens and cryptids and everything in between. So we are your hosts, Emmy.
And Steve.
So Steve, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you too.
I think this is coming out on Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, we publish on Thursdays, so we're going to have an episode on Thanksgiving every single year for the rest of the time.
Yeah. So to all of our U.S. listeners, happy Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything fun?
I'm not really. I mean, with COVID, it's a little different.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing something outside probably with my siblings, but it depends because it looks like it might be raining on Thanksgiving Day in New York, so we can't really do anything if it's raining, but at least it's going to be in the 60s. So outdoors, if it doesn't rain, is not out of the question, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, but we'll see. Everything will be fine. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I think the same, kind of laying low with family. My sister actually just had a baby this week.
Oh, congrats.
Very exciting. So hope to see her. I've been laying low in the city to come back and be able to see the baby.
Yeah, that
and
makes
not have
sense.
any COVID worries. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun. But other than that, nothing exciting.
Yeah. I've never been the biggest fan of Thanksgiving. It's just a holiday. I mean, I don't dislike it, but I think it's like one of my least favorites.
Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah.
I just feel like Christmas and Halloween are just superior.
Yeah, it is kind of stuck in the middle of two good ones, but
I don't love turkey, so.
But you have to love.
I mean, I love like stuffing and like other things that go along with it, but I'm not a big turkey guy.
I don't think anyone's favorite Thanksgiving food is turkey.
No, I think that's my least favorite. Maybe besides, I don't like cranberry sauce. So I think besides that, I think that the turkey is my least favorite part of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. People have very strong feelings about cranberry sauce too.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. I don't know. My parents like it, my siblings like it, but I don't really like cranberries.
I'm not a huge fan either. Right out of the can too, it's like,
oh yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah, it's nasty. So it's nice. I mean, we also sort of started, we used to always go to my aunt and uncle's house for Thanksgiving, but that was miserable. So it's a lot better now, I guess, because we started just doing it ourselves, especially with COVID. It's going to be a weird year, you know. Last year, actually, Thanksgiving was weird for me because so my older sister's married, so she goes down to her in-laws for Thanksgiving, and my brother and I always do Thanksgiving with our family. And so last year I had mono, and my brother had, I think he had a bladder infection. So we were both really sick. But the funny thing is, he got better as the day went on. I ate Thanksgiving dinner and it was fine. And then like 3 or 4 hours later, we drove up to Vermont. And I was just the sickest I'd ever been in my life.
Oh, that is the worst.
So I am used to having this low key family Thanksgiving now.
Yeah.
That's what it's been the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And on the couch. Do you ever partake in the Thanksgiving Eve festivities that I know people do, I guess, across America?
No.
Young people, I mean.
Because I usually in past years would go to my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving, so I always would be in bumfuck nowhere, Pennsylvania, so I would not be out drinking. But
yeah, I wouldn't go out drinking. I mean, part of it too is just that like I just didn't want to go drinking in my local town, but I would always go see my friends and do stuff, which was fun. But we always used to go up to Vermont, so I'd be sometimes and the other thing too is when we were in college, it's like our college break was nice because we got out like the whole week, but a lot of my friends wouldn't get back until like Thanksgiving Eve. So it wasn't even like I could really do things because they just weren't around, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving is, I was just going to say, Thanksgiving is a lot more fun when you can drink.
Oh, for sure. The one time that I actually did something with my friends on Thanksgiving Eve, my family went up to Vermont and I decided to stay and drive it the next day. And this is like, I think sophomore year of college. So we're all underage and couldn't drink legally. And one of my friends had fake ID. So we drove, my friend has this shitty Mini Cooper convertible. And we drove to this sketchy gas station. And he had the roof down for some reason. I don't know why he did this. And my one friend went in to get booze, and we're in this shitty little Mini Cooper with the like roof off, and the sketchiest goddamn SUV in the world pulls up next to us, is blasting music. Clearly, like another car pulls up next to us. Clearly, like a drug deal going down.
Oh my
My
God.
friend's in the gas station trying to buy beer, and my other friends has a brilliant idea. Like, oh, let's put the roof of the convertible up. So I don't know if you've ever been in a Mini Cooper convertible. You have to
No.
turn the engine on and then it makes a loud noise. So he drew so much attention to us when he lifted up the roof of the convertible. It was the most uncomfortable thing ever. And my friend finally came back out. Apparently some guy in there was being an asshole, being like, he's not actually 21. He's not actually 21. Like just causing a whole scene about it.
Oh my God.
And we finally got out and left. And it turns out my friend bought freaking malt liquor. So it wasn't even like real beer. And it's like, let me tell you what, that stuff tastes great, but it gave me the worst like a hangover, and I had the shits the next day. It was terrible. I had to drive 3.5 hours to Vermont. I'm not kidding, Emmy. At one point, I was almost home. My mom called me and she asked if I could stop to buy like something on the way. And I was like maybe 5 minutes from home. And I thought I was going to poop my pants in line waiting to buy food.
Oh
It was
my
like
God.
the worst experience of my life.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
We've had some bad Thanksgivings.
I mean, they're not usually bad, but I just thought it was a fun story. But,
Yeah, no, that is funny.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you want to get into some turkey facts?
Oh, yeah. So I prepared some turkey facts because it's Thanksgiving. So some of these are from legitimate sources, and some of these are just my own personal opinion from having turkeys that live in my backyard.
So not quite facts.
Some are observations, some are facts.
Okay.
So turkeys make some weird ass noises.
Yes.
I mean, that should be an official fact, but that's just an observation. I mean, honestly, I was hanging out with my friends outdoors one night because COVID, and we heard the turkeys, and they can sound like coyotes if they want to. They make all sorts of weird, aggressive noises. Turkeys are also really mean and can be very aggressive. If you ever encountered one,
like just in general, or like if they feel like they're being attacked, or what?
they can just be mean. Like sometimes they'll just attack people, or they'll stand their ground and they have like spiky feet and they'll hurt you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're kind of vicious. So turkeys are nearly hunted to extinction by the early 1900s, but they're no longer endangered. Male turkeys are called gobblers and females are called hens.
Really?
Yeah, I like that one.
Interesting.
And so both a male and female turkey have a snood, which is the dangly thing on their face, and a
I
wattle.
thought that was a gobbler.
No, the gobbler is the male. That's the snood. And then they have a wattle, which is the red dangly thing on like their nose. That's a wattle.
Okay.
Turkeys have really fun names for things.
When you eat a turkey, can it be any gender turkey?
You know, I didn't look up that fact. I looked up facts about living turkeys. That's a very good question. I don't know. I think it depends on the poundage. Male turkeys are bigger than female turkeys. So
Yeah.
they also don't eat wild turkeys. So I don't really know. I mean, if you hunt them, you probably do, but the general public doesn't. I actually used to think that people would just hunt turkeys and that's how you get your turkeys. I didn't really think that people farmed them. But I guess it's kind of stupid because you get cold cut turkeys, you know?
That's true.
So that's another fun fact. A turkey's gender can be determined by their poop. A male has spiral poop and a female has J-shaped poop.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Turkeys can run up to 25 miles an hour and they can fly up to 55 miles an hour. I was unaware that turkeys could fly.
What?
Yeah.
I thought they could just like putz around if they needed to in the air, but I didn't know they could fly 55 miles an hour.
My source is the Smithsonian, so I believe that's pretty
All right.
pretty well
Yeah, I believe them.
well supported data. Another one that I liked a lot. You know, there's the story that Ben Franklin proposed that the turkey should be the national bird. Apparently what he actually said is that the turkey was quote a much more respectable bird than a bald eagle.
So not quite.
Not quite, but he did say that it shouldn't be the bald eagle's less.
And I don't agree.
respectable.
Do you think a turkey's more respectable?
Well, bald eagles just steal other birds' kills, so it's not like they're doing all the hard
but
stuff
you're
themselves.
saying turkeys will just claw you with their little feet.
But also, turkeys are better because turkeys eat ticks, and ticks give you Lyme disease, and Lyme disease ruins your life.
Yeah, I guess. And they're just kind of ugly.
They are pretty hideous, though. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into the brunt of our show, there's a few announcements that we want to get out there. First, we would like to say
Christmas is
yes.
approaching.
We're doing a Christmas special. So by that, I don't mean like just one episode. We're going to focus on a Christmas theme for December because Emmy and I love Christmas. So for this, we're not just going to talk about like Christmas movies and something every time, but we're going to cover things like some Norse folklore, all sorts of fun things, because it's a really interesting pagan holiday that was sort of co-opted and intermingled with Christianity, and there's a lot of fun folklore in the Norse countries. We're going to keep talking about Kid Nation because it honestly is getting better and better, and if you're not watching it, you're crazy. Episode 2 and 3 were so much fun. Oh, we'll also have a newsletter that's coming out, and it's going to be a monthly newsletter. We'll have more information probably next episode or the episode after, and we're going on Wide Atlantic Weird soon, so look out for that. We had an awesome time there. We also had an awesome time on the Geesebumps podcast. Check them out.
Yes. So a lot of exciting things coming up this December.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we
Yeah, let's get into it. And now a quick break for a word from our sponsor, Anchor. Anchor is one of the easiest ways to make a podcast. It's what we personally use to make our podcast, the Misfits and Mysteries podcast. It's one of our favorites because it's super easy to use and it's free.
They even have creation tools that let you record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, which has been awesome for us because we're not experts, but they make it super easy.
Another great thing about Anchor is that they distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle of uploading your RSS feed individually to every single podcast hosting service out there. They get you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts.
And you can start making money from your podcast right away with absolutely no minimum listenership, which has been great for us.
And what's awesome is this is a tool that's super useful. Everything you need to make a professional podcast, you can find in one easy-to-use place.
So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
So now let's get back to business.
Back to business.
The episode. So
Steve and I were looking for a lot of Thanksgiving-themed stories to do and having a lot of trouble because Thanksgiving is just kind of a weird holiday.
Yeah, there's not a lot of interesting things that... We're not a history podcast, so we don't really want to go into the history of it.
And the history is kind of not fun.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff that we decided wasn't worth looking into. So instead, we're just going to have a normal episode and just have some overarching Thanksgiving-y theme to tie it all together.
Right. So this one, I am going with a kind of a classic cryptid because Thanksgiving is a very traditional holiday, and that's Mothman. Mm-hmm. So
happy birthday, Mothman.
Happy birthday, Mothman. It was just his birthday in October, right?
Yeah, I think it just passed.
Yes. So happy birthday, Mothman. This episode is dedicated to you and Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So everybody buckle in. So Mothman was first seen in West Virginia near the Point Pleasant area. And there's actually some controversy about who first saw Mothman, but this is the earliest date that I could find.
Mm-hmm.
So on November 12th, 1966 in Clendon, West Virginia, right outside of Point Pleasant, a group of grave diggers working in a cemetery spotted this massive figure hopping from tree to tree. And of course, it's very dark out because they're digging graves.
Yes. Do people only dig graves at night? I feel like in every movie or play or Shakespeare, the grave digging is always done at night.
Right? I don't know why they would, though.
It seems really unpleasant and like the scariest time to be digging a grave.
Yeah, and honestly, this didn't say that it was at night, so it might have been during the day. I just envisioned it at night, but
yeah, I mean, I do too. So who knows?
we'll just go with that.
Yeah, keep with tradition.
Exactly. That's what this episode's all about. So they're seeing this massive figure hopping from tree to tree, and they described it as a brown human being.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine if it was actually a person just like hopping around from tree to tree in the graveyard.
That'd be strange.
Yeah, that's like even worse.
Yeah.
So that was the first encounter, but the first documented thing that was actually in like a newspaper actually came only 3 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in Point Pleasant, and there's two couples on a double date in a car.
Yeah.
And they're near this World War II munitions site called the TNT area. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
like sketchy. I don't really know why they were there, but
It's West Virginia. Not much going on.
exactly, just hanging out by the
By the
munitions
munitions plant.
site, as one does.
That's where you take your dates if you're from West Virginia.
Exactly.
Go check out the ammunition plant, the TNT factory, if you will.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. So, according to this newspaper clipping from the Point Pleasant Register or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, the two couples are sitting in the car and they see something that is, quote, man-sized, bird-like. It's around 11:30 at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they described it as being about 6 or 7 feet tall, having a wingspan of 10 feet, red eyes about 2 inches in diameter apart,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a man with wings.
Oh, wow.
So they said that it could fly as fast as 100 miles per hour.
How do they know that, though?
They definitely
Like,
don't.
how when you're standing still, how can you tell the difference between like 60 miles an hour? Maybe not 60, but like, how can you tell the difference between like 80 and 100 when you're just a human if you don't have a
Well, they
speedometer?
did, as you'll see through the story, they did start driving away, but their
Mm-hmm.
car, I don't think that they were going 100 miles per hour, but who knows?
Yeah.
And they said that it was a clumsy runner on the ground.
Mm-hmm. So it's clumsy at running, but flies well.
Yeah, flies really fast.
So kind of like a bird,
Exactly.
but not like a turkey though, because a turkey can run fast and fly pretty quick.
Yeah, but I don't know. So they said that it was hovering above their car, gliding around. So they start driving.
Mm-hmm.
They drive into town, and when they get into town, the thing is just standing there in the street waiting for them.
That's scary.
So they flash their headlights at it, and it scurries off. So apparently it's afraid of light.
But wouldn't a moth be attracted to a light?
I was just thinking that as it came out of my mouth. That's like a main characteristic of a moth, that they love
Mhm.
light.
And eating your clothing and everything that you don't want it to eat.
Yeah, exactly. So already there are questions.
Just a random aside, what the hell do moths eat besides our clothing?
I have no idea.
Like, would moths just stop existing if all the clothing in the world disappeared?
They can't only eat clothing though.
They really can't. There's no way.
When I was a kid, I was legitimately afraid of moths, like in the way that someone would be afraid of like a spider.
Oh, really?
I hate them. I hate them so much.
Have you ever gotten the lunar moths? I have a really funny story about lunar moths.
No.
So lunar moths are like the size of a bird,
Oh, I
and
do know what you're talking
they're
about, but
green.
keep going.
They're kind of cool. So
Yeah.
when my brother first got his puppy during quarantine, we were up in Vermont with them, and so we had all the lunar moths because this was like the spring when they spawn. And my brother's little puppy, but then out at night to pee, right? And my brother's girlfriend thought that he just picked up a leaf because they're kind of shaped like a leaf. And then she's like, "Hey, what do you have?" And then the puppy dropped it, right? And she freaked out because
Yeah.
it was a moth, and there was a giant moth just flying around our house.
Oh, I hate that.
Everyone's like freaking out. The puppy's like, "What the hell is going on?" My really old dog's just like, "I can't be bothered. It's
Oh my
bedtime."
God.
And so my dad, so we're going, right? My dad's like about to catch it. He's like cornered. And I said like when it first came, I was like, well, what if we turn off all the lights so it gets attracted to one area? So my dad has it cornered, he's about to get it, and my sister starts screeching, turns off all the lights.
Why?
Oh no. My dad can't find the moth. So everyone's scrambling. We have to go to get the light back on. And it takes like another 20 minutes for my dad to finally catch the thing and get it out of the house.
Oh my God. That actually just brought up like a repressed memory for me about moths.
What is it?
So I was in the grocery store with my grandparents. This must have been 15 years ago, at least. And we go into the grocery store to grab some ice cream after dinner, and we come out, and the sky is covered in moths.
Oh my God.
It must have been like a hatching or something.
Ew.
But I'm not kidding. There was millions of moths. Like the air was thick with moths.
That's a disgusting term, thick with moths.
Right? And so we waited inside the grocery store for what felt like forever. And then we're like, all right, we just got to go for it. And we ran through, and they're all just like hitting you like a waterfall of moths. Oh my God. So I'm sure that's why I'm afraid of them.
That just brings up another quick story about bugs. So have you ever been to Utah?
Yes, I have.
Did you go to like the Great Salt Lake?
Mm-hmm.
When we were there, when I was a little kid, there was like a wall of gnats between like the shoreline and the water. So I was really little. I was probably like 4 or 5, and we were in the Salt Lake, and then we got out, and my mom went through, my whole family went through, and I freaked out because there was a wall of bugs. So I just stood there and just froze. So my dad had to run back through the wall of little gnat of bugs, grab me, and run back through again before I had to go through the bugs so many times.
Yeah, the Salt Lake is actually like pretty gross.
Yeah, I know. It's a interesting place though.
Yeah, it is.
All right, you can get back to your
Anyway,
Where
was I? So they shine a light on the Mothman, and it scurries away, and they called the police, and police went to look for this creature, but never found anything. So this newspaper article kind of sparked some additional sightings, and the Gettysburg Time, which was a newspaper in a nearby town, reported 8 additional sightings in the 3 days following the first claims.
Oh, wow.
So this is now 5 sightings in the past 6 or so days. Mm-hmm. And it's at this time that a Ohio newspaper, which Ohio is kind of right near the border of...
Yeah, West Virginia is kind of weird like that. It's not that far from New Jersey. It's not that far. Obviously, it's borders Virginia. It's not that far from Ohio.
Yeah.
It's not that far from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Point Pleasant in particular is close to Ohio. So the Ohio newspaper officially dubs this creature Mothman. So that's kind of when the name first comes about. And people speculate that he called it Mothman to sound similar to Batman, which is
that's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, but it doesn't really fit. The descriptions sound more like a bird than a moth.
Birdman.
Like, Birdman sounds kind of cool.
It could have gone Batman too, but I bet that's trademarked.
Yeah. So
Man-Bat.
So as these stories are coming through, more and more locals start to believe in the Mothman, and the prevailing theory at this time is that he lives near the nuclear power plant, and he kind of lives in this like top secret government facility where the nuclear weapons are tested. So maybe he was the product of some government thing that went wrong, or they were testing weapons and a man got combined with a moth or something, like all of these weird conspiracy theories start running around. There's some other notable sightings that I'll take you through that happened around this time. So this is Newell Partridge. He lives in Salem, West Virginia. Claims that he saw strange patterns on his television screen one night.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it's like tampering with his TV, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's followed by a mysterious sound. And then there's flashing light, and he looks out his window, and staring back at him are two red beady eyes.
That would be so scary. Like, that's the
Right?
worst. Like, my worst fear as an adult is being in a house and looking out the window and just seeing a human or anything like that just staring back at you. Just
Right?
because at that point, there's not much you can do. Because what do you do? Like, call the police if they attacked you? By the time
No,
they got
it's
there, it might be
like
too
it's
late.
already right there. It's been looking at you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not afraid to look back at you. Oh,
I
no
know.
thank you. So it's believed that this also led to the disappearance of Newell's dog. which is
Ooh, that's
sad.
not good. So Mothman eats dogs? That's not nice.
I guess so. And maybe that's what moths eat.
Maybe. They'd eat dogs if we didn't have
Dogs.
clothing for them. So maybe it's good that they eat our clothing.
Yeah, true. One of the most notable things that Mothman has been linked to is the Silver Bridge incident.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this bridge that I believe it connects West Virginia and Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So in this article says the bridge's engineers had not been particularly imaginative, nor had they been especially cautious while creating this structure.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't have a lot of reinforcement. So if any part of the bridge failed, there was nothing in place to prevent other parts of the bridge from failing as well.
Wow, that's major design flaw.
Right? Not what you want in a bridge.
Yeah, usually when you have a design flaw, it's like one issue. That's like the entire bridge is a design flaw.
Yeah, so it's like if one thing goes wrong, the whole bridge is going down.
Yeah, that's not good.
So this is one day in December in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
So it says a single eye bar near the top of the bridge cracked. So the chain snapped and the bridge fell to pieces. So there's all of these cars and pedestrians on the bridge that are just falling into the Ohio River.
Oh,
which is
that's
terrible.
no good.
Yeah, so 46 people died and 2
Oh.
people were never found.
Wait, how many people were never found?
2 people.
I thought you said 32.
No. 46 people died and 2 people were never found. So terrible, terrible tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And around this time, right after the bridge collapsed, the sightings of Mothman just stopped,
Oh, wow.
which is weird.
That is very strange. Did Mothman blow up the bridge? Is he really a supervillain?
So John Keel, who wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies,
Mm-hmm.
which I think, who wanted us to...
I think it was we were interviewing Kian from Wide Atlantic Weird 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, Kian recommended this to us, and they later turned it into a movie in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
John Keel wrote this book in 1975, and it was called The Mothman Prophecies, and basically what he did was link the bridge collapse with Mothman sightings.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's this small town in West Virginia, and it's known for 2 things, which is Mothman and the bridge collapsing. So people just kind of started linking the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Keel says that the Mothman sightings were actually premonitions about the bridge collapse. So
it's like a warning, if you will.
Yeah, so I don't know if the Mothman was trying to warn them or if he was going to do it. I'm not exactly sure, but
It was like a bad omen seeing the Mothman.
yeah, exactly. And he also linked Mothman to UFOs and Men in Black. So he's really just tying everything together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of weird speculation flying around, but this book actually launched Mothman into the national scene. So after this book was released, people started talking about it around the country. And, as I said, it became a movie in 2002. So kind of following that, Point Pleasant started taking this on as like a tourist attraction, and they have a Mothman festival every year that's said to draw around 12,000 guests.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty,
That's sizable.
Yeah, and like a weird city in West Virginia, that's pretty good.
Probably a big boost to their economy, so good for them.
Exactly. So they have a 12-foot statue of Mothman. They have a Mothman museum and research center. So they're really just hammering this Mothman thing home.
Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, good for them, though.
Exactly. Like, if you got it, might as well capitalize off of it.
Yeah, if you can improve your economy.
Yeah. So the sightings didn't just happen in West Virginia, and since then there's been a lot of conspiracy theories, like someone saw Mothman at Chernobyl or right near the World Trade Center before 9/11. So I don't want to put that out there because that's definitely not a thing, but
yeah, I mean,
that's
always happens, though. I feel like, especially in the internet age, I feel like there's one thing uniquely belongs to one area, and then the internet co-opts it and tries to make it a global phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's the same thing as Slender Man, where remember we were talking about it during our Halloween special, how people sort of co-opted Slender Man, even though everyone knows it's fake, and tried to insert him into history, even though in like pictures by like doctoring images.
Exactly, yeah. But what's kind of cool is in 2020, so this year, there was a petition that got thousands of signatures to replace Confederate Army statues with a statue of Mothman.
Yeah,
which is kind of cute.
Did that succeed? Because I know there is a Mothman statue.
There is one in Point Pleasant, but that was erected in 2003.
So a long time ago.
Yeah, so let's see. This is 18,000 signatures.
Wow, that's pretty good. Is that like on change.org?
Yeah.
I wonder who's gonna be forced to read that. Some poor intern.
I know.
But yeah, that's awesome though. Good for them. I like that idea a lot.
I do too. I mean,
it's fun.
He's a better icon.
Also, what I don't understand about having Confederate statues in West Virginia. West Virginia seceded from Virginia during the Civil War and joined the Union. So why would they be celebrating slavery? That doesn't, I mean, not slavery necessarily, but why would they be celebrating the Confederacy if they literally ditched Virginia to join the Union in the middle of the Civil War once they're like liberated? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this is to West Virginia State Senate. I wasn't sure if it was to all statues across the country, but yes, it's to West Virginia.
That's a weird one, just because historically that doesn't add up.
Right.
But we're not going to get into the politics of that. We're not a history or politics podcast.
Yes, but I will say that I do support it.
I do support removing statues of losers as well.
Yep.
Okay. So, do you have anything else on Mothman? Because I have a quick little recent Mothman story here for you.
That's about it on Mothman.
All right. So, back to the idea of co-opting. The city of Chicago really likes to steal Mothman from West Virginia. So, especially around Chicago O'Hare International Airport, they're like big airport. That's where these people really like to claim that Mothman hangs out. The sightings of Mothman started about 10 years ago in Chicago and around Chicago O'Hare Airport, so like in the burbs. And people claim to be seeing a man who's about 6 to 10 feet tall, with about a 10-foot or larger wingspan. So sort of matches the description, maybe a little bit taller than West Virginia's Mothman. And people claim that he or she vaguely resembles an owl or a bat and has red eyes. And so in 2017, there were 55 sightings of this winged beast, and it didn't stop there. Two most recent stories were in 2019, a truck driver saw a creature at the airport. So this guy worked at Chicago O'Hare, while he was in the packing bay. And the creature, he said, was the size of a man, had its wings spread out, and is in the cargo parking lot. And then this year, September of 2020, a United States Postal Service worker who worked at the airport reported seeing the creature while she was leaving work one night. And she thought it was a very tall person in a trench coat, which seems like kind of a funny description of something that people will say looks like an owl. Until she turned on her car and the headlights illuminated the creature. And then according to this postal worker, Mothman, or whatever this creature was, turned towards her and ran straight at her, wings outstretched, screeching.
Oh my God.
It took off about 10 feet away from her and flew away.
Ah, that is terrifying.
Yeah, so there are still Mothman sightings. And I just got to say, if Mothman's supposed to be like an omen of bad things to come, Mothman kind of missed the mark on COVID. Could have shown himself 7 months ago, 8 months ago at this point, whenever it was, whenever we needed to know about it to stop it. But no, he's like, oh, I'll show up in September.
Yeah, he was a little early, but I actually have something that I wanted to say about Mothman that I forgot.
Oh, go for it.
So this is actually like one of the most important things that I wanted to say. So there's a few explanations for Mothman sightings, but this is the one that I think is the most convincing.
Mm-hmm.
So Robert Smith, who is an associate professor of wildlife biology at West Virginia University, he posits that the Mothman sightings are actually the sandhill crane, which can be almost as tall as a man, and it has red fur around its eyes.
Ah, I can explain the red eyes.
Yeah, and it can fly really fast, and it lives in this area where all of these people have been seeing the Mothman sighting. So, to me, that seems like the most plausible.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So, actually, I didn't know Mothman was a thing until, I believe it was COVID, but it's hard to say at this point because time is a suggestion.
Right, especially these days.
I know, but there's a great series from PBS called Monstrum, and Dr. Emily Zarka, who I love, she did it was like a 20-minute episode on Mothman. She went down to West Virginia and just met with all sorts of people. I think she met with that guy because they talked about that thing, like the crane. You should check that out if you're interested in Mothman. You get a full overview of the history, and also you should support PBS because they make free content that's really good for us. And I like PBS Eons as well because I like learning about dinosaurs and stuff. So if you view it, it's good.
And I only touched the surface of some of this stuff just to give an overview, but there was a lot.
Yeah, we might do a deeper dive on Mothman at some point.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a 2-parter just on Mothman.
Oh, easily. This is just your overview, so don't be upset at us if we tell the full story. We'll dive into that eventually.
Right. Yeah,
after December. December's Christmas time.
Christmas time.
Woo. So this is kind of moving away from our bread and butter, but I thought it really fit in with the whole Thanksgiving thing because besides overeating and over drinking and generally feeling like shit because you overate and overdrank, people watch football on Thanksgiving. And football is fun. I love football. It's one of my favorite sports to watch. And one of the traditions of Thanksgiving Day football is the Detroit Lions losing because they suck. And I know this is probably actually I don't know. I don't really know what percentage of our viewers also like football, but my favorite little tidbit that kind of came true is the curse of Bobby Layne. So Bobby Layne was the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions during their golden years in the 1950s. So this is before the NFL and AFL combined and became the current NFL. So there's no Super Bowl yet, not till the 60s.
Okay.
So the Lions were one of the most dominant teams during this span. Bobby Layne took them to 3. They won 3 championships with Bobby. But the thing about Bobby was that Bobby Layne was beloved by Detroit. Detroit, everyone knows, is just has this tradition of being a blue-collar working city.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole thing was he was a working-class guy, basically. And his whole thing is the night before games, he would drink all night long. He would get in trouble with the law, and then he'd lead the Lions to a crazy fourth quarter comeback and win. Then the next day he'd be in court somewhere.
That is absolutely a psychotic work environment.
Yeah, he is a legend of the game. I mean, he is a Hall of Famer. He is the greatest quarterback the Lions have ever had. And he is just
Yeah.
And eventually the Detroit Lions just got fed up with his antics. So they signed this veteran quarterback, Tobin Rote, and he and Layne split time, right? And Layne was pissed off about this because he was a superstar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loved him. And he was kind of pissed off about it. I understand why, like, Detroit was probably not happy with a guy who would get really fucked up the night before games.
Right.
At the end of the day, and like have legal issues. But at the end of the day, if he's winning games, I mean, you got to sort of just take the good with the bad, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're sharing time, which he wasn't happy about. And then one game, Layne was hit by 2 defensive linemen and broke his leg and was out for the season. And Rote ended up leading the Lions to a championship. And Layne was really bitter about this whole thing, and he was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And apparently, on his way out, Bobby Layne said that the Lions would not win for 50 years, and then the curse of Bobby Layne was born. And it's wild how bad the Detroit Lions are and how bad they've been since they traded him.
Let's hear about it.
So I wrote down just some of the highlights, or lowlights, if you will. So at one point, the Detroit Lions had a crushing loss where they lost a game on a 63-yard field goal to a kicker who only had half of a kicking foot.
What do you mean?
He just didn't have the front of his foot, was gone. He had a nub. A kicker with a nub kicked a 63-yard field goal.
Why did they make him the kicker?
I don't know. But the crazy thing too is, so back then, 63-yard field goals were like, that just didn't happen. That's something that happens occasionally now. It's still hard to hit from that far out. But this guy had half of a foot. Then they had a playoff
that
game.
Is devastating.
They haven't won a playoff game. They've won a single playoff game in 50 years. And they had this one game where they held the opposing team to 5 points, which is hard to do. 5 points would be a field goal and a safety, right? Mm-hmm. If you hold the team to 5 points, you should win that game. They scored 0 points. And then this weird thing has happened too, where the coaches tend to just make irrational decisions when they're up. For example, they had a big lead in one game against, I think it was the 49ers, and they were in their own end zone, and they did a fake punt, and it just didn't work.
Ugh.
And they scored.
They've got to be so in their heads at this point.
I know. And there's all sorts of wacky drops and just things like that. The other example is Barry Sanders. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He has the 3rd most rushing yards of any running back ever. But because he was a Lion, he ended up retiring prematurely because he was just sick of it. He has the most yards the fastest because he just gave up. And he actually has the record for the most negative yards run because the Detroit Lions are just such a shithole.
Oh.
And finally, to make things even worse, there hasn't been like a good quarterback besides Matthew Stafford, who's pretty good. But the Lions quarterbacks now are constantly get really nasty injuries on hits. It's like considered the most cursed position. Like Matthew Stafford's pretty good. He has great stats. He's never really won anything. But last year he broke his spine. He's fine now. He's playing again, but he has the worst injuries.
Oh my God.
And then to show the other side of the coin, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the greatest franchises in football history. Mm-hmm. Before they traded for Bobby Layne, they had 0 playoff wins. And since the trade, they've won 28 playoff games and have 5 Super Bowls. And the icing on the cake, the last Super Bowl they won was in Detroit.
So you think that they passed off their good luck?
I think that Bobby Layne his spite cursed them. Like literally the season after, he somehow put a curse on them. The season after, they sucked, and they've sucked ever since. And the best part is, so I was watching, like I've known about this for a while, but I did some research before this. I was watching NFL films, and they legit just, I think it's hysterical the NFL decided to interview a psychic for this.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And this psychic actually had a really reasonable response to it. She thinks that part of the problem is that the curse is just so well known now, and it's perpetuated by the fans. So whenever anyone gets into the organization, they just start to crumble because it's like there's expectation that everything's going to go wrong.
Yeah, it's probably just like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. It's probably just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everything just goes wrong, because they're the Detroit Lions. But
Oh,
it just
I mean, in a way, that is a curse.
it is a curse. I think that this is the most real curse. This curse is more real than the mummy curse because this curse is self-fulfilling.
Yeah. And happens time and time again. We can see it.
Yeah.
That
I
is
mean,
that is devastating.
just this year, the first game of the season, the Lions should have beaten the Bears, but their rookie running back had the ball wide open right in the end zone, and he just didn't catch it. He just dropped it. Like a really easy catch. I'm not good at sports, and I probably would have caught that ball and got a touchdown. It was like wide open, just dropped it. The misfortune continues to this day.
So is the curse supposed to only be on Thanksgiving?
No, but they play every Thanksgiving, which is why I thought of it. So the curse has technically been lifted because they've won one playoff game, but it took 50 years, which is kind of crazy.
That's still, it doesn't seem like it's been broken.
Yeah.
You don't do that and be like, wow, all right, like, we did it, guys. Like, that's still embarrassing.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, I mean, if you don't not interested in sports, sorry, everyone, but I just thought that's a fun one because football is a major part of Thanksgiving, and I think that, like, this is such a great story, and it makes sense. They play every single year on Thanksgiving. They lose pretty much every single year.
Yeah, no, I love that story.
Yeah.
We love a good curse on this show.
We do love a good curse. Oh, actually, speaking of that, a fun little piece of trivia is they actually entered King Tut's tomb on Thanksgiving Day.
Is that what you were trying to think of earlier?
No, but I can't think of what I was trying to think of earlier, but that is what happened.
This year they're going to, or last year?
No, I meant like Thanksgiving 1926 is when they first entered King Tut's tomb.
Spooky.
Yeah, spooky. That's just a fun piece of trivia. Speaking of the Detroit Lions, they lost 0-20 today.
Oh my God.
They suck.
They should just be abolished.
I know, seriously. So this was my favorite episode of Kid Nation to date.
It was pretty good. It was pretty freaking good.
So
it started off really strong too.
Yeah. So do you want to start off?
Yeah. So did they start at the party or was there something?
I think so. My first notes say they're doing shots. Incredible.
Yeah. So we start off in the saloon.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are having a party.
Yeah, they are.
They're drinking root beer like there's no tomorrow.
What were those shots they were doing inside of the root beer? I know they were doing like a Boilermaker, but what's soda and what's soda? Like what was the white soda?
I have no idea. It really looked like they were like a sake bomb or something. Like
yeah, I know. Seriously? Or like a Jaeger shot? Or not a Jaeger shot, a Jaeger bomb.
Jaeger bomb?
Yeah, Jaeger bomb. That's what I meant.
I couldn't think of the name of that because, like, I haven't
repressed
done
memories
in a long time. Seriously.
I still don't mind how Jaeger tastes, but I'm an adult now. I don't want to drink Jaeger.
No. What do you even drop it into?
The Jaeger bomb is like a glass of Jaeger. Then you have a shot glass in between. When you drink the shot glass. No, sorry, I lied. Yeah, you have a shot of Jaeger, not a shot of Red Bull. And then you have Red Bull in a cup, and you have a shot of Jaeger, and then you just chug, and you drink both at the same time.
A Jaeger bomb is Red Bull and Jägermeister?
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
I know. That's revolting.
Oh my God. We used to do that when
nightly.
We were in London.
We do that like every night.
We do that all the time. Oh my God, that's so gross.
I don't want to drink like either of those things really. Now I just want like a nice beer or two. I don't want to like have, but I think I got like all the alcoholism out when I was 18.
Which is good.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, just get it out of the system real quick.
I used to just drink like out of the bottle of liquor. I would vomit if I did
guys,
that.
Steve was freshman year crazy.
I know, right?
Like, off the rails. Oh my God.
I used to drink just like rum out of the bottle. Now if I smell rum, I get nauseous.
Well, remember, I was obsessed with that grocery store brand vodka.
Oh, Tesco?
Yeah, it was like
Hey, Tesco,
10,
sponsor us.
yeah, it was Tesco vodka. It was like 11 pounds for a bottle. And I dressed up as it for Halloween. That's how much I drank it.
That
And
was fun.
now I swear to God, I could not drink Grey Goose if you gave it to me. Like I
No,
can't drink any kind of vodka.
I can do vodka if it's disguised well. I can never do a shot. I don't think I can do a shot of anything anymore.
Yeah, shots are just not in the cards for us anymore.
Yeah. Like I hate tequila, but I can do tequila and like a margarita, but that's about it.
Anyways, Greg was pounding back this like it was nothing. Oh,
Greg's gonna be really fun in college.
he has some anger issues. I did not like Greg in this.
He's also 15 and hormonal, and the poor kid probably hasn't like jacked off in a few weeks.
I literally my first note is about the party. My second note is, Steve, do you seriously still like Greg?
Yeah, I do. I liked him this episode. He's such an asshole, but like he's
Oh
not
my
wrong.
God, no way.
He's such an
No way.
asshole.
So they have this party, and then the next morning they have to get up at 7 a.m.
Okay, he was cranky. He had a sugar rush.
He literally, there's a scene where he drags this girl in her sleeping bag all the way out into the middle of town and says, everybody just leave her there because she wouldn't get out of her sleeping bag.
I
That
mean, he
is
is
so
an asshole, but like I'm Team Greg. I think he's the most useful. I think if Greg was gone, the whole town would fall apart.
then he dragged her into the middle of town and called her a bitch.
Yeah, he was foul mouthed. I
He
guess that's what they
was,
do in Nevada, though.
I did not like him. He has some weird toxic masculinity thing going on.
I just think that he's a 15-year-old who's going through puberty. Everyone's really mean when they're going through puberty.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to like him.
I don't know. He's the most useful. But I just thought that the way that these kids were just chugging was insane.
It was insane. How do they even know what that is? Like
I don't
a
know.
Jaeger bomb kind of drink.
They were just chugging. It was insane. Well, they probably drink. They're like 15. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, but not, I mean, were you doing Jaeger bombs when you first
No,
started
I would
drinking?
like steal a beer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah. But I will say, it was a little ridiculous how they're all like, they seemed like they were hungover because like they had fucking like sugar.
yeah.
But I do have a story that reminded me of. So junior year of college, someone gave my roommate and I all these like crappy Saranac, like Saranac's a good beer, but like Saranac, they have like these fruity drinks that are not quite seltzers. They're just like a knockoff Mike's Hard,
Oh,
and they're like disgusting.
is it the like green tea seltzer?
They weren't seltzers. This is before seltzers were. This is before anyone
Oh,
was making hard seltzers. But yeah,
is
I
it
can't remember what
hard
they're called.
soda?
It was like a Smirnoff Ice ripoff, but it was Saranac brand.
Oh, I don't
And
know if I've ever had those from
don't.
Sarah.
They're so gross. So I didn't have enough to get drunk, but there's so much sugar in them that by the time I went to bed, I felt more hungover than I had in my life because I just had a crazy like sugar crash slash like
Yeah,
dehydration. It was
yeah.
awful.
That's supposed to be like the worst kind of hangovers is like the sugary drinks.
Yeah. And this is like before I woke up. Like this was me like before bed. I was like, oh, I feel hungover. I haven't even drank enough alcohol to get drunk. This is terrible.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That was awful.
All right. So then they go in to read the book.
Hmm.
My one question is like, this book has all these things. What are the odds that the kids are naturally getting really rowdy and need a bedtime right before the next chapter of the book says you have to instate a curfew?
Yeah, I mean, the book is definitely fake.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no way. That was from 1800. But I'm just saying, like, they definitely just invent things to go along with what's happening.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's like a reality TV show. The producers
Yeah.
have to have some kind of.
Also, these kids read like one page or section of it. There's no way in hell I wouldn't just read the entire book and just see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I wrote down, does Laurel have a cold sore?
Maybe.
It looked like she had a cold sore in one of the pictures.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
And then they decided the bedtime was gonna be 9:30. Like, what the hell? That's so early.
Well, they're kids though. Like some of these kids are literally 8 years old.
Yeah.
Don't they have to get up early too?
I set to get up at like 4:30 or 5 when I was on that construction site.
Mm-hmm.
And I still wouldn't go to bed till like 11 because I can't fall asleep before then.
Yeah.
I just thought 9:30 was a little bit too early.
But I'm just thinking when I was leading camping trips, we would go to bed with the sun. Like we'd go to bed at like 8 p.m.
Well,
because we were waking up
I guess that's a little
5 or
different
6.
because you're tired and you have nothing to do when you're hiking at night.
Yeah, but what are these kids gonna do at night? I mean, I guess they must have lights.
Yeah, they have to have lights. Otherwise, they'd be going to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Greg threw a tantrum, which I agreed was not great.
Yeah, so the next scene is just like, I think someone got mad at Greg for putting this girl in the middle of the town, and he just starts going off, screaming at everybody. And I was also thinking, like, he's he's like an actual like teenager just fighting with these children who he could pummel to the ground if he wanted to.
I know. I think that he doesn't really have anger issues. If he had anger issues, he would have hit someone, right? I think he just is hormonal and just needs to get it out somehow, you know?
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, it's like when you have to hang out with, like, your little sibling. I
Yeah, I
mean,
know. But he does have one friend who he's like actually friends with who's his age who's there.
yeah, yeah. But it just must feel for him like he's hanging out with all of these, like, little children who,
Yeah,
like,
that's true. I wouldn't want that either.
yeah.
And then, so what I liked about this episode is there's a lot of character development.
Mm-hmm.
By that I mean they showcase some people, like Colton. I still think Colton's a dick from last episode, but he's kind of funny. I liked how they had like the Texas Bighorn. I thought that
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna kill him. I thought kind of
I
fucked up,
know.
but just imagine how awful and kind of funny it'd be if they just skewered him.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Yeah, that's true. But
And it was so sad when Greg was screaming at everyone. All of the little kids were hiding under their sleeping bags. Like, I can hear Greg talking mean.
I know that's kind of sad.
And it's important to note that one of those girls was Mallory.
Mallory. We met Mallory and Olivia, sisters, who
Yes.
wrote a book with Andre is his name, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they wrote a book recently. So check it out.
We might be talking about it in a future episode. We'll see.
Hopefully. All right. So where the hell have they been hiding Morgan this whole time? She's a great character on Green.
Morgan is a great character.
Why are all the best characters on Green? And then they just hide them from us?
All of the best characters are on Green, but Green performs so badly in all of the challenges.
There's no like physical capabilities.
Yeah, I guess so. But it does seem like they have good leaders on Green.
Yeah. But I hate Yellow. Yellow is the absolute worst.
So this is kind of the next thing that happens is it's like breakfast before the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And Yellow just makes hash browns and has people like put their hands out and you get a handful of hash browns and that's all you get for breakfast.
I literally wrote, bro, a handful of potatoes for breakfast. Fuck that.
Yeah.
They're also wasting food just throwing flour at each other outside.
Yeah. And it also seemed like it was super late because Taylor, who, as we know, is the leader of the Yellow team, was like, oh, this is going to be brunch.
Yeah,
Because
I
it was
know.
so late. So that was their breakfast and lunch was just a handful of hash browns. These kids are going to starve.
I know. The worst thing imaginable was having a Yellow team that's just all little kids.
I know.
That was the stupidest thing they let happen because the little kids are useless.
And Taylor is a terrible leader.
She is awful. She's actually a
Which-
bitch. I don't like her.
Well, we'll talk about that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing that happens is the challenge, right?
Yeah, the challenge. This was a fast-paced episode. So the challenge this time is they had 5 minutes to like get ace cards or whatever off of sheep. And they had 5 minutes to do this.
So there's like 40 sheep or whatever. and the
Yeah.
kids have to find the the sheep that has their group's color ace card on them and
Mhm.
grab the card.
Yeah.
It was very
It
chaotic.
was so chaotic. And Yellow won, which I hate them, so I wanted them to lose. But at the same time, it's perfect that they're the number one seed because they can't ruin society.
Exactly. So they don't have to do anything, which they
Hmm.
won't anyways.
Yeah.
It sucks that they're the upper class, but
But
whatever.
like at the same time, at least like they should just be the merchants the entire time because the merchants are the least important people.
Do you remember what the rankings were? I didn't write them down.
Yeah, it was Blue or like Greg's and Anjay's team were the merchants. Green finally made it to the cooks, which is where they need to be because they actually know how to cook. And
Mhm.
then Red team got, which is Mike's team. I still hate Mike. They're the bottom tier people. They have to clean like the poop.
Yeah. So I feel like that's where people should be, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, so after the challenge,
Oh, that's the challenge. They had to decide between 40 pizzas and a microwave.
I kind of would have gone with the pizzas.
I know, but I think they made the right move though because like pizzas, like they have no way to refrigerate it, right?
Do they have a? I couldn't remember if they had a fridge or
I don't
not.
think so because they're all saying it's gonna spoil.
Yeah, because I was thinking that too. Like, if you have 40 pizzas and 40 kids, that can feed you for a week.
I know, but at the same time, a microwave speeds up the process. You can cook so much stuff with that.
Yeah, but when you're cooking for that many people, I feel like a microwave is not that helpful.
That's true. That is actually very a single microwave. That's very valid.
Yeah, what are they even going to make in a microwave?
Yeah. So they ultimately ended up choosing the microwave,
Hmm.
but what I'm wondering is, do they just throw away those 40 perfectly good pizzas? Where the hell did those go?
I don't know. Do you think there were actually pizzas in those bags?
I think there
There
must have
had to
been.
be. There had to be.
Yeah, and Taylor's the one who decided to take them, even though they were split. And I love how she compared herself to George W. Bush.
Oh my God. I literally wrote down like this is such a sign of the times.
Yep.
So she
Um,
goes, President Bush has to be bossy to get people's attention and run the country. And did you also notice how the whole time when they were instituting the curfew, they were talking about law and order?
yeah, that's true.
I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so the next thing that happens is besides Yellow just still being freeloading assholes who aren't helping and just enjoying having a dollar, there's like a tornado that hits.
I said, do you think the producers organized the tornado?
I don't know, but I just wrote this is downright irresponsible. They need to get into a basement.
Seriously, like their structures are just being blown over. All
Yeah.
of the outhouses are just like flying across town.
Oh, I know. That was nuts. So they had to get all the big kids. I forgot his name. I think it was Zach or something. Stood
Hmm.
up and just told everyone what needed to happen, and that kid showed some good leadership. I hope that somehow he dethrones Taylor because he's the only kid on Yellow who's reasonable, apparently.
Oh, I thought he was on red.
Oh, was he? I thought he was Yellow. I might be wrong. I don't really know who he is.
Yes, he was a new character, and I want to see more of him because he really took ownership of that
Yeah.
situation.
And then I just wrote Morgan is the best. I don't really know what that was in reference to, but sure. Uh,
Morgan is really awesome.
yeah. I also wrote that I said I love so when they go into the meeting, right? To
Mhm.
at the end, I absolutely love how everyone just fucking rips on Taylor
Yeah, that
and they
was
demand a re-election.
so. Sophia, in particular, who's on the green team, stood up and said, Taylor, you're doing a bad job, deal with it, and started saying, re-election, re-election.
Yeah, that was
And
awesome.
Taylor's just standing there crying and nobody cares.
I know. Those are such fake tears too.
I know.
She's
But
just trying to get her way. She's the worst.
but I kind of did feel bad for her.
I did, but like still.
Yeah, and so Taylor says, okay, you guys, like, I hear you. Like, Yellow is going to help clean up the town, which we will see. I
Yeah.
don't believe that for a second,
I'll believe it when I see it, seriously.
but
All right. So then Mallory wins the gold star because it's her 9th birthday, which I agree with Greg on this one. That's kind of bullshit that she won it just because it's her birthday.
Yeah. I mean, their argument was like the smaller kids don't usually get the gold star because they can't do as much physically, but like what had Mallory really done? What was like
She ran the merchant shop, which is the least important thing in the entire place.
yeah. I mean, if you like show some initiative or I don't know, but like even when Greg was yelling, she was just hiding under her sleeping bag
Yeah,
crying.
she did nothing. I don't think she deserved it.
I was just gonna say she has this amazing quote where she gets the gold star, so she gets to call her parents, and she has this amazing quote. I will never forget this birthday because I got the golden star and I'm in New Mexico.
So what I'm wondering is her dad said something on the phone call along the lines of, I hear the school bus stop by. And it always makes me sad to think that you guys aren't here. Let me think, are these kids missing 40 days of school?
I wrote down the same thing. They must be missing school for this.
That's insane. I wrote,
That's
did all these
so
kids get held back?
irresponsible.
Like, what the hell?
What do their teachers think? What do they tell their teachers?
I don't know. That makes no goddamn sense. This should have been done in the summer.
I mean, it must be happening during school.
It has to be. There's no explanation. I have
Yeah, and
no
like,
idea.
okay, when you're 8 years old, you can miss some school, whatever, but like, Greg's in high school.
Yeah, he's going to have to get held back. He missed a month. Or not be held back, but it's either going to be a pain in the ass to return to high school. I mean, so is Mike. Sorry, not Mike. So is Michael. So is Anjay. So is Sophia. Like, these people are all in high school.
And it matters
It does.
if you miss school in high school.
Yeah, so
Like, that's going to be on your transcript.
I have no idea how that's going to happen.
And Greg's talking about like how is he gonna fund college? Maybe start by going to school.
Yeah, it's valid.
Like, God, I don't know.
I don't know. And then, so my absolute favorite thing about the episode is did you watch the end credit scene
I think so.
where Jared's in the hammock and Sophia just pushes him down, he gets stuck, and then walks away? That was funny.
That was so good.
That was
And
great.
he goes, "What was that for?" And she just goes, "Nothing."
That was, I think, my favorite part of the episode because she just bullied the weirdest character.
Jeremy is so weird.
I know. He kind of scares me.
I wonder what he's doing now.
Yeah, so I guess that's it for our Thanksgiving episode.
Oh, I actually have a picture of him, and he looks like a total stoner.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course he is. Of course, that kid definitely gets high. He probably was getting high then somehow.
I know. Seriously.
All right, so we're going to wrap up today's episode now. I hope you enjoyed our Thanksgiving special with air quotes. I mean, it honestly wasn't that different from a normal episode, but whatever. It's on Thanksgiving.
Whatever.
So we felt pressure to make it a Thanksgiving episode. So remember, next month we're going to be doing a Christmas themed month. We're not necessarily going to do Christmas every single time, but more like holiday themes and a lot of like the folklore. So have a more folklore focus. And I don't think we're going to really dedicate like a month to a topic besides maybe December. Because I feel like there's so much that we can cover in this time. So yeah.
And if you guys have any suggestions of good Christmas themed things that we should go over, just let us know.
Yeah. And honestly, we might even do some sort of story thing or get you guys involved. We want to try and be more of a community. So we'll see how that works.
Absolutely.
And again, we have a new newsletter coming out soon, sometime in December. I mean, I need to figure that out still. And check us out on the Geesebumps. Did You Mean a Goosebumps podcast? We recorded a great mini bump with them. It was really, really fun. I thought it came out really well. We're going to be on Wide Atlantic Weird soon. Check out our past episodes. Those are great. Shout out to Y-Files. They talked about us on their most recent episode about Bigfoot. So check them out. They're a great podcast as well. And remember to just leave a review on iTunes, comment. If you write something that's funny or nice, we might read it at the end of an episode or at least put it out on a fleet.
That out?
Yeah. So You can follow us on social at
podcast_misfits, Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram. We have a blog. We've been posting our blogs lately. It's just misfitsandmysteries.com. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Make sure to share this episode and just tell someone about it if you like our show. It really helps us out growing wise. And stay spooky as always.
Stay spooky, everybody. Love y'all.
Bye.